Good evening. Good evening. Sorry, I had to walk a little bit of a far distance to come around the corner on that one. Oh, good evening. It's Friday. It's Friday night, Friday the 13th. For some people, it might already be Saturday morning. I'm sorry that this is a little late in the night, but I said I would put another video out Friday, and I want to stick to my word. A little bit of a busy day. Um, there are these things that in the program that we call God shots. And I was driving, picked my son up from school at 2 o'clock, and was driving back to Venice with him. And a kid reached out, a man, I guess, a guy reached out to me who I met in the same program where I met Hutch back in 2016 when I originally came to California. His name's Dan. He's from down the Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I met him out here in California, and he randomly messaged me, and I saw that the last time he messaged me on Facebook Messenger, and I saw that the last time he had messaged me was 2019. So it had been a while, and he wasn't doing that well when he last reached out, but he is now, and I was just so grateful to hear from him, and he's a veteran and East Coast guy. He's just he meant a lot to me in that program. He had more time than me. He had more clean time than me at the time, so he was kind of running the house. That one of the guys that was running the house. It was just really nice. It made me very happy to hear from him. And it turns out that he lives in a city. It's called Brentwood. It's like 5 minutes from where I am now in Venice, and it's just, to me, that's a God shot. That's just God putting things, people, um, in my life, in my path. As long as I don't get in the way, as long as I just allow what's supposed to happen. Um, then life is beautiful. And yeah, that just got me thinking about what daily life is like, staying clean, and I mean, there's so many. A lot of people ask a lot of questions. So there was one question about in a comment that I said I would address about marijuana, about weed, um, and the person who commented lives in a different country, and they asked about my stance on marijuana. There was a time in my life where I loved it, and you know, and this is just my opinion. You know what I mean? So take it with a grain of salt. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel for me that marijuana was real led to other things. Um, I think my just the type of person that I am. I was like, for a long time I only smoked. Like that was enough for me, and it was great. But just the way that I am, it was like, well, this is cool. Then this other substance must be really cool. It's. I just had to keep um, climbing that ladder. But I personally think that marijuana has a lot of um, positive uses, and I don't personally use it, but I don't fault people that do. I think some. I mean, I've had one of my best friends growing up, this girl Stacy. Her family members, one of her uncles, he was a cancer patient, and he smoked, and like he would actually take these Marinol pills. It was like weed in pill form, but he would also smoke, and he grew his own weed. He was a really cool guy, um, and that helped him. That helped him take less painkillers. The marijuana did, and painkillers are tough on the body, and if you can use a little marijuana to maybe give yourself an appetite, Um, for some people, it helps them sleep. Other people, it allegedly helps with anxiety. I would say the opposite effect happened with me. I don't think it. I don't think it. I don't know, but I think marijuana is a very useful plant. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm not telling anyone that's watching this to go use any substance, marijuana, alcohol. I'm not telling you that you should use any substances. Um, I just think that plant has a lot of properties and medicinal purposes that should be utilized. I personally do not participate in it, but that's my stance on it. I don't know, politically, I don't know if it should be legal everywhere or, all those things. I don't know. Smarter people make those decisions, not guys like me. But my recovery has been amazing. I was so lucky. The first 4 years of my recovery were a walk in the park. I, you know, I had buddies relapse. Um, my grandmother died, but like I didn't really have my turn in the barrel until my 4th year, and that was my divorce. Well, it was the events that led to my divorce. Excuse me. That was the first like actual struggle that I had to stay clean, and that was after 4 years. I'm very lucky. I mean, don't get me wrong. The 20 to 25 times I tried to get clean before that, you know, making it 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, 60 days was huge, almost insurmountable. I couldn't, it took me a long time to get a year. Uh, it took me, until this time to get a year. I went to my first detox after my family had an intervention when I was 23. That was my first treatment center. And when I got out, that's actually when I got that my recovery tattoo, because I thought that now that I had knowledge of what I was dealing with, that I'd be fine. And I knew that I would always be in recovery. And there was a song at the time that had a line about recovery, and I didn't want to put like a whole lyric on me, so I just took that word. I knew that it would always mean something to me, and that I would always be in recovery, whether it was from drugs, from a heartbreak, from a physical, ailment. I knew that my whole life I would be in some sort of recovery. Um, but yeah, so all the times I tried from 23 until I actually got clean. I just turned 40. I have 7 years clean. So from 23 to 33, all the different times that I tried, um, it took me 10 years to get a year, and it's a big fucking deal. Any amount of clean time is a big deal. And someone left a comment. I replied to a comment today that said something about they had just come back. They had some clean time, and they're just coming back. They're starting on day one, and there's a song. So when like I was saying earlier, when I first came to California in January 2016, I got 8 months, and I relapsed in August. And when I relapsed, I couldn't, at the time I couldn't understand why. I had 8 months clean. Like I actually made the clear decision to use heroin and meth at the time, and I had never used meth. So I was just so broken, like because in my mind it's like, well, if I'm gonna be dope sick and it's already in my system, I can justify, well, I don't want to be sick, I'm scared, I don't want, whatever justification I could use when I've already been getting high. I didn't have that when I had 8 months clean. Um, so it was devastating to me to lose that, because I was so proud. I was so proud of those 8 months. I was working in treatment. I had been all over California by that point. I started in West Adams. It's off of Crenshaw in LA, and then I went to Orange County, Anaheim Hills, and then I went to Malibu, and then I went to Joshua Tree Desert, and I went to Santa Barbara. So I had all in this same program basically. So I had all these amazing experiences, and but I got high, and I relapsed, and that relapse, it only lasted 7 days. It wasn't anything crazy. I survived, obviously. Um, but there's a song, and not everybody's gonna like it. I'm not saying you should go check this song out, but there's a song by Macklemore uh, that really, it was the reason I came back, and it was the reason why that relapse was so short lived. It's called "Starting Over" by Macklemore, and it's basically him saying, he's talking about how he was clean and how everybody knew it because he's an artist, and he made it very public that he was clean, and he relapsed, and he was going to meetings, and he hadn't told anybody that he relapsed, and this, people were like, he talks about it in the song. This girl comes up to him, and she's got like 6 or 8 months, and she's so grateful for him and his music, and he's feeling like a fraud because he hasn't said anything. And eventually he ends up talking about, if I could be an example of getting sober, then I can be an example of starting over. And whatever it was at that time that song did to me, it saved my life. I came right back after a 7-day relapse, which for me was unheard of. I would have year stretches, years, and or at least 3 to 6 months and get a good run in. But a 7-day relapse, I probably didn't even lose any weight. I was probably, but yeah, it's recovery's I mean, it's a great life. A lot of people, the reason I was saying, get back to, I'm sorry, sometimes it's tough to stay. It's late. I fell asleep with my son by accident. Sometimes it's hard to stay on top. But the comment about this girl, it was day one again. So after that relapse, when I came back so quickly, I realized that I hadn't lost I hadn't really lost anything. I did lose my clean date. My clean date at that time was December, my December 30th, 2015, 12/30/15 was my original clean date. So I did lose that. That was no longer my clean date. But all of the wisdom, all of the knowledge, all of the step work, all of the therapy sessions, the group counseling, the breath work, all the things that I did in those 8 months were not lost. I didn't lose any of it. All I lost was the right to claim December 30th, 2015 as my clean date. That was the only thing I lost. I mean, I lost some, don't get me wrong, I lost, some people's respect. Some people lost faith in me. I did lose some things, but as far as recovery goes and who I was as a person, I didn't lose anything. Had a little guilt and shame. I was feeling sorry for myself, but like I still had everything in me that I had learned. I got right back. I got right back to it. Um, that's where I was going. I'm glad that I remembered that. So I think it's very important that people don't think, or if you are a person who might be using now, or maybe you recently just came back, maybe you know somebody that has. They're not, like, everything's not all gone. They're not. starting, from not sure how to put it into words, because addiction is such a crazy, complicated, cunning thing. I was gonna say, you know, just because someone relapses, it doesn't immediately revert them back to the stealing, lying, behaving like a piece of shit. It doesn't, I was gonna say, it doesn't automatically turn them back. I should speak for myself. At that time when I relapsed, I didn't turn back into that guy. I was still behaving. My life was still the same, like I was still doing life, but I was getting high. And it was only a week, but like I didn't start going out stealing right away. I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't revert immediately back to all the crap that I was doing. I still had recovery in me. So just wouldn't want anybody. I just wouldn't want anybody to give up on someone because they slip. Now, addicts are resourceful and manipulative and clever and convincing. So I'm not saying just to buy into whatever they're selling. I'm just, and it's such a slippery. There's no blanket statement that I can make on how to treat an addict. It's, I could tell you that loving them is the best thing you can do, but love is not enough. Sometimes tough love, like one of the hardest things that I know that one of the hardest things my mom ever did, besides buy a plot in a cemetery for me in my late 20s, thinking that I was going to die. I know that the hardest thing that she ever did was tell me that I couldn't come back to her house because she knew that that meant I was going to now be, sleeping in my car. But realistically, she didn't make that decision. I forced her to make that decision. Every time she let me in the house, once she would fall asleep, I'd steal from her. So it's not like she was just like, I just don't want you back here anymore. It was like, it's been 485 times in the last 500 days that you've stolen from me when I let you in my house. Like, I can't do this. It's not right. And I didn't fight her on it. It was just like, I get it. I cried. I was upset. I was sad, self-pity, and, feeling like I let my mom down because I did. A lot of emotions, but that's what had to happen. I mean, that had to happen. My mother had to stop making it easier for me to do what I was doing, because what I was doing was basically trying to die. And my mother making that easier for me would never be her intention. And so once she realized, and it probably took a long time, but once she realized that like me letting him stay here is actually hurting him, she stopped letting me stay there. And I know it was the hardest thing she ever did with me. Saw in her face. She was a lot more upset than I was. But the act of her no longer allowing me to come to be in the house was an act of love. And whether you agree with that or disagree with that or think she's horrible or think she's the smartest woman in the world, like, okay, it is what it is. I'm clean. I'm alive. I'm a good son to my mom today because she made that decision. I'm not saying everybody should kick their kid out. I'm just saying what happened to me and what worked for me. I didn't like it. My son doesn't like to brush his teeth. I still make him do it. I don't always like brushing my teeth, but I fucking do it. It's not my job to be my son's friend. It's my job to be my son's dad. I got to teach him how to live. I got to mold him into this thing that, when other parents have him around, they want, because he's hanging out with their kid, that they want him around again because he has manners and he's polite and he's helpful. You know what I mean? Like they don't, people aren't just born that way. They have to learn how to be that way. And same goes for my mom. It wasn't my mom's job just to like make me happy, give me whatever I wanted. It was her job to let me know like what you're doing is not okay. And that was what she had to do at the time to make me understand that what I was doing was not okay. Because I for whatever reason, the insanity of it, I thought, you know, that if she had $1,000 in her bank account and I only took 600 or 800, that like I wasn't really that bad because I was like leaving her money. Um, Obviously, that is ridiculous, but that was my thinking, and you know, it was a sad time. I was a demoralized. It was just an unfortunate situation. That being said, you know, I have 7 years clean, but life still happens, you know. But life is amazing. My son, the other day, I don't remember how many days ago it was. We're going in the grocery store, and no, we were coming out of the grocery store. My son says, and there was like an older man getting out of his car. And as we walked by him very close, my son said, "Daddy, you know, I'm really glad that you're my dad." And the guy who was getting out of his car was like, "Oh man, isn't that the best?" And I was like, "You know, Jack, I love that. I'm really happy that you're my son." And you know, I didn't know that things like that would be so important to me or mean that much to me. Um, I don't know. It's crazy. Having a child is out of control. It's it's testing and it is nerve wracking and it's scary. Um, you know, there was a kid who threw a Lego off his face at recess or something, and I didn't handle that well, and I wasn't my best self on the phone with the assistant principal um, about that because this is my first go around. Like I don't know how do you handle that. Did the best I could at the time, I guess, but you know, and I apologized on the phone, but initially I wasn't very. I don't know. I could have been gentler on the phone. You know, I wasn't swearing at anybody or being rude. I was just like, help me understand what's going on because I don't understand. So it was, but like, you know, that's scary. I don't, you know, I know how kids are. I was a kid. It's just tough, you know. My son's a sweet boy, and he just, you know, he'll be playing Roblox, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, will you type something, a message for me?" And I'm like, "No, I won't, because anybody that can read what I type is too old for you to be playing Roblox with, because you're 5 and you can't read and you don't know how to write this. So anybody that can do those things should not be talking to you. So no, I won't write it. But what do you want me to write? Just for shits and giggles. Let me know. What do you want me to write? I want you to write, um, will you be my friend, but only if you're nice, or like, you know, you can come play at my Roblox house, but only if you're nice." And it's like, he's just the sweetest kid. um, I hear the gate opening. That means Megan's home, and I don't want her to come into this video without me letting her know that she would be about to be on film. i'll be I'll either be live tomorrow, Saturday, but maybe, but Sunday for sure, later in the day Sunday. I love you guys, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for chatting with me for a minute. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.